I've been married 19 years,
Okay.
7 kids, and homeschooling for 13 years.
Okay. And your oldest, is she in college?
She is. She's a freshman. She's 18.
Oh, wow. So
Yeah,
you've got a bit of a head start on me. So
just a little bit.
I'm married 13 years and homeschooling for, well, so my oldest is seventh grade. So if you count like preschool and
Right.
kindergarten,
I
yeah.
count kindergarten. Kindergarten's hard.
Kindergarten, yeah. I probably didn't do as much as I should have with the younger ones, but with my oldest one, kindergarten was a big deal.
Oh, I killed kindergarten with the first one. Like, we finger painted and everything.
Yeah. I was like, you are writing that letter A. This book says you fill this page with
No.
A's. And she'd be like, I don't want to do the A's. I was like, this says you do all the A's.
I know. I was horrible. The poor thing. It's amazing she still talks to me.
I know. Yeah, everybody's really hard on their first.
I know. God bless them.
But you can't tell anybody not to. So like I meet these moms and they like ask for advice. I'm like, oh, don't worry about kindergarten. You don't need the full Seton curriculum. You're fine. They're like,
You're fine. It's easy.
yeah, yeah.
But they never believe you.
No, you have to get to like your third or your fourth, and then, yeah. And,
Right. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you
And they
wrote-
look at you like you're totally crazy. The new moms.
I know, they're like, what? Like, you
What?
mean you're not doing all these things with your kids? And what?
I know. It's crazy.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, the ones that have, like the younger moms, their oldest is like, the same age as like one of your younger ones. And they're like, oh, well, with my child, I'm doing this and this. And what are you doing? I'm like, oh, yeah.
I'm teaching her not to eat her boogers. That's what we're teaching.
Like, basically, as long as he, like, sits over there on the sofa and doesn't scream, like, I consider that a banner day. Gold star.
That's a great day.
And then you wrote a really great homeschooling book, which is
Thank
Teaching
you.
in Your Tiara.
It is.
And that's how I remember meeting you at Adele. I was like, oh my word, there's Rebecca. And all I remember is going up and saying, I love your book.
Which is really my favorite thing to hear.
It was great. I mean, that's the book now. I always recommend it to people. Like, I read a whole bunch when I started, and like they were good, but then you get into it and you're like, wow, I really don't want to recommend that to these delicate young moms. But like, I felt like in good conscience, I can recommend your book, and it's not like do all
Scary.
the things,
Yeah.
and it's not scary, and it's not like, yeah, it's very realistic and encouraging and stuff.
That's kind of what I was going for. And it's so funny because I didn't read any books when we started homeschooling. I just jumped right in because I was like, I don't know, 25 and, knew that, I could do this. I had this because, whatever, I passed kindergarten. I could totally teach kindergarten.
Uh-huh.
And so I jumped in, and like 4 years later, a friend of mine came to me and said, and was like crying. She wanted to homeschool. She's sobbing and she's holding these books and she's like, I can never do this. And I was like, I don't even know what's in these books, but you know me, I'm not that smart. So let me read them. And so I read these books and I'm like on chapter 5, sobbing to my husband going, I can never homeschool. And he looked at me and he goes, you've been doing this for 4 years. And then I realized like, oh, maybe there's a problem with the books.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not me.
Yeah, thankfully at some point, like, I read, like, all the really not uptight, because they're good points, but, like, then I found, like, some of the more John Holt and, like, the unschooling stuff, and I was like, somewhere in the middle, somewhere in between here is, like, what I'm going to be able to do. So, yeah, and it works out, because, I don't know, some of those books I just wonder, when you're having all those kids, it just didn't seem realistic, but your book was very realistic, and I've always loved it.
That.
I'm a huge fangirl.
Oh gosh.
Just what you want to hear, right? Not making this awkward
Love that,
at all.
Stop. Come on.
But yeah, I just remember because I wanted to talk to you more when we met, but I was just so like fangirl, and then I was judging shoes, but now it's been so nice to get to know you more online and chat with you and stuff.
It's so great.
Because we do have, besides being like funny and awesome and, love to dance, we have other things in common too,
We do,
right?
A few.
A few things.
Look, we wear really great PJs. Cause look, can you see them? Look at how
Nice.
sexy I am for you.
I'm still dressed for the day. I'll probably fall asleep in this
I'm
outfit.
still dressed from the waist up. But I was like, I'm gonna put on, my PJ bottoms, and I told Kayla Alexander, from Barefoot and
yes.
Pregnant, I sent her a picture of my PJs, and she goes, "Don't show them." So here I am, like 3 minutes in,
You're
going,
showing 'em.
"There they are, thing 1 and thing 2."
Callie, you gave her the, advice, and she did what she wanted to.
That's
Blame it
right.
on the wine.
Right, I blame the wine. bring those kids. You know, our house is totally not accessible, but we would figure it out.
Yeah, so how have you, like, so you live in, like, the pictures I've seen, it's a fairly newer construction type home.
It is.
And we live in, like, a really old home. And both, I think, present completely different challenges to accessibility. Because most new homes are not designed for it, and older homes were really not designed for it.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I think that we should have moved, like, 70s. Looks like, I mean, you know.
Yeah, I love looking at like 70s ranch homes with all hardwood throughout. Like, I keep thinking, Lord, when we bought 6 years ago, why didn't you lead us towards a brick rancher?
Right. Where was the 70s then? But, you know, and I have a friend who's a real estate agent, and she's like, no, I always tell stay-at-home moms, buy in the 70s. Like something from the 70s. Everything new is built for moms who work. And everything like before 85 is built for stay-at-home moms.
Oh, yes. Well, that's the thing, because when we moved, we wanted a big dining room. Because I wanted us to eat around the table, and I knew we'd have a growing family. And newer homes, I find, have small dining rooms. And like, and then like eat-in kitchens that aren't really attached to the dining room. So for some reason, we wound up with this home because it had a big dining room that could fit everybody.
Right, and we have a huge dining room, but it has a toy kitchen in it.
So you sabotaged it yourself then?
I totally did. Because, you know, I planned like that.
So how have you made your home accessible for your daughter then?
Actually, I really haven't. She's kind of made it, I'm such a slacker, I'm so horrible. We keep saying, we're going to move to a house with no stairs, we're going to move, and so we're not going to do anything because we're going to move. And here we are a year later and we still haven't moved, and she's like figured it out.
Yeah, did you have any bedrooms on the first floor or?
Just ours.
Okay.
So.
And you weren't giving that up, right?
I'm not giving that up. No, and actually she slept with us in our room. This is actually the baby's crib because she's
like
3
mom
and
of the
we
year.
still have the baby's crib in our room because she's 3. And every now and again she doesn't feel good and she goes, I want my crib. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. You know, so she sleeps here. But so when Ella got sick last year, she slept in our room for like the first 3 months. Because we didn't know what was going on. We didn't know why she had stopped walking. We didn't know what was going to happen in the middle of the night. And so I got up like every 30 minutes and made sure she was still breathing for like 3 months.
Wow.
So, yeah. So that's when you met me at Adele. Like, not only was I like in the middle of this whole shell shock, but I hadn't slept in 3 months. And so,
and
yeah, it was fun.
You were there trying to put a smile on and drink a lot and have fun. And
drinking a lot, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That helps. It's how we cope.
It is how we go. That and cute shoes.
Yes, definitely.
Gotta have cute shoes.
So then how does she like get up to bed at night then? Like, does she go up this, like, because she still has complete upper body strength, right?
She has complete, right. So she has only lost from mid-thigh down.
Okay.
So she's really low. Her injury is like L5S1.
Okay.
Like really, really low. And so, yeah, she's mid-thigh down. So she has complete trunk control. And so she actually like uses her arms and goes up the stairs.
Okay. Yeah, when we bought our house, it had this really small bedroom on the first floor. And then the upstairs had these 2 huge bedrooms and all these closets and an extra room at the front. I'm like, this is going to be perfect. We're going to put all the kids, all their toys upstairs. And Tony and I will take this little bedroom on the first floor. We don't need a lot of space. Kids get the whole second floor. We bought this house for this huge second floor.
Right.
And then we get Fulton's diagnosis and we're like, oh. So we put him on the first floor with his brother and we moved upstairs, and now it's like trying to have all the toys for the boys downstairs when we never meant to have the toys downstairs. But at least we had that one room, and so we've moved stuff around. And then we had Teddy, and we're like, wow, how are we going to fit 2 little boys and all their equipment? Because there's so much equipment.
There's so much equipment.
There's so much.
It's crazy. And, I mean, you have different kinds of equipment than we do, but we have, hang on, let me think. I have 5 wheelchairs at my house. 5.
She does so many different
for
activities, and you need the right kind of chair for each thing.
Right. So we have, you know, her daily chair, and then we have like a hospital chair that she uses upstairs. Just like a, you know, like a regular push hospital chair. And then we have a basketball wheelchair. We have a track wheelchair, and then we have a WCMX, a skating chair that we borrow. Wow. So the 3 sports chairs aren't ours. We've borrowed them from the sporting associations that she works out with.
But you guys, it took you a while though, right, to get like her a custom chair that like fit and everything?
She still doesn't have a custom chair that fits.
She's
a secondhand chair that we bought through donations from my blog readers. But it's so crazy. I mean, she stopped walking June 1st. She took her last step. So it's been, 8 months now. And we did all the paperwork to get a custom chair. And the end of December, we got a denial from the insurance company because no doctor had ever diagnosed her as not being able to walk.
That's right. I remember you writing about that.
Which is insane to me. Like, right.
Yeah.
The whole reason we saw 17 doctors was because she couldn't walk. And nobody ever wrote down she couldn't walk.
And if it's not completely spelled out, like,
right,
almost too obvious, like insurance companies, it's...
Yeah, right.
Well, and I wondered, I mean, I know for us, like, we have a very specific diagnosis, and in some ways that makes it easier for us to get things, because it's like, right, you can't argue, it's a genetic thing. Right. But she doesn't have, I mean...
She doesn't have a diagnosis.
You don't have that diagnosis, and
right,
you're still, is there still, like, uncertainty? I mean, were you pretty sure it's this virus that caused it?
We're pretty sure. So her official diagnosis is non-ambulatory, which her official diagnosis is she can't walk.
Right.
So it's in her chart it says that she's suspected. What they had thought was enterovirus, just this week they've renamed acute flaccid myelitis. So there you go.
All right. But it's without the clear-cut thing, like, it must be harder to get approval for things.
Well, it's
how do you prove, like, oh, it's not in her head, or it's not something else, or something that'll get better, because you don't have such a clear-cut answer.
Well, we don't know that it won't get better. I mean, we have no way of knowing that because we don't know what's wrong.
Right.
So, I mean, we have what we think. I mean, and she follows a disease progression of these 107 kids who have been diagnosed with acute flaccid myelitis this past year, but there's over 100 that are suspected in this country that can't be diagnosed because they don't fit the parameters that the CDC set up. And so Ella misses the parameters because she's outside of their timeline, which is ridiculous to me. So she has all of the symptoms, right, she has all of the history, but because she got sick before the end of July, they won't include her in this group. Yep, there you go. Let's drink to that.
Yeah. I'm done. So, I think that's something, like, how do you deal with, like, the uncertainty and not having answers? Like, I know we have a lot of uncertainty, and, like, but it's sort of it's different, but I feel like when you have a child in this position, uncertainty and the future is just like this heavy thing that's there.
Right.
You know? Mm-hmm. So, like, for me, I just don't like to think about the future. I just don't want to think about it completely. And that's my coping strategy.
Right. But you have a disease progression that's laid out. That you know, like, this is what the disease looks like over time. Right. And we don't have that. We don't know. I mean, she's plateaued now, but we don't know if this is something which is going to recur because it showed up with a cold. I mean, she had a cold and 8 days later she couldn't walk. Right. So we don't know if and every time she would get a cold for the first 4 months, she would decline more. So we don't know if she gets another cold. Does it get worse? Does it move up her spine? Does she stop breathing? Right. You know, we don't know because we don't have any answers of what it is. And so I think that that's the challenge, is that there's a lot of fear when you have a known progression of this is what this disease looks like over time, but we have to live with the complete uncertainty of, I mean, we have no idea. Right. And we know how fast it can hit her because it was 8 days. Okay. You know, so we just have to take it day by day. And just say, today is good. Today she's healthy. You know, today she's going to the skate park and doing insane things that make me crazy, that I can't watch. Right. But, you know, and that's all you can do is pray and go day by day.
Right. Yeah, I think people always ask me, like, how's everybody doing? How are the boys doing? And they get real serious. I'm like, they're healthy right now.
Right.
Right now,
Today
we're
is good.
healthy. Like, or we've been healthy this winter, or we've been healthy for a while. And that's how you have to take it. Because, yeah, we know the progression. We sort of know what to expect. We don't know how fast it'll hit the boys. And I'm hoping that medical advancements will help us a little bit more. But
sure.
But yeah. So... But yeah, live in the moment.
You have to. It's the only way.
Yeah.
It's the only way. And you have to enjoy them where they are now because they're these amazing people.
Right.
And don't you find that your kids cope much better than you do?
Yes. My kids dealt much better. Like when I think back to when we got Fulton's diagnosis and the way my kids dealt with it at that time, and then like when we got Teddy's diagnosis, the second one it was absolutely devastating to my husband and I. It was worse than the first in a lot of ways because
you knew.
Well, we were really hoping he would be born healthy because it's a 1 in 4 chance.
Right.
So we were hoping that he would be fine, and a lot of people around us that were supporting us were like, he's going to be fine, this baby's going to be healthy, God wouldn't do this to you again, you're going to be fine, it's going to be great. And when he was born, he was premature, but he was really strong. We thought, he's going to be fine. And when we got it, we just were like really? Like again? This is going to happen again? And we were devastated. But when we told the kids, they were just like, oh, this is great. We're going to have 2 wheelchairs. They're going to be banging around. This is going to be fun. Like, it just didn't even faze them. Now, granted, they were much younger. You know, they were young, but it just didn't even faze them because they never saw anything wrong with Fulton. And so, like, they didn't see that this diagnosis meant that there was anything wrong with Teddy. Whereas, of course, my husband and I saw the big picture and everything. But, yeah, kids are amazing with how they cope with all this stuff.
Right. Well, and I see this... It's one of the benefits of homeschooling is that she hasn't had to adapt to this with all of these prying eyes of all the other children in a classroom telling her what she can't do or telling her what's wrong with her. She's been able to kind of explore her own body and her own ability and who she is and adapt to that in private so that when she goes out in public, it's a very controlled thing instead of her, because I can't imagine going into a chair June 1st and having to start school August 15th. I mean, that would have been 2.5 months to adjust. Mm-hmm. And at that point, she really couldn't even get herself in and out of the car. I mean, now it wouldn't be a big deal. She's totally mobile. But at that point, she couldn't really do a whole lot for herself. And to have had to adapt to school and everything else in a chair in a world that's not accessible with all of these people watching her, I think would have been so much harder, and I don't know that she would be as well adapted as she is if she had to do it with an audience.
After you wrote the post about your local church and how it's so nice and brand new and still so completely inaccessible, which made me want to gouge my eyes out.
I know.
Because like I go to an older church and it's pretty good. It's mostly accessible. And I'm like, this is a brand new church. This should be like the most accessible place ever.
Right.
Were any changes, like anything come of that at your church? Did anything happen?
So the priest called. Well, first the bishop's office called me because people had forwarded my blog post to the bishop's office. So the bishop's office called me and they said, there's an autism support group at your parish.
Oh.
Because paraplegic is exactly like autism.
It's
the same thing. So eventually our priest called us and had a meeting with us and he wanted to discuss accessibility and basically he wanted to tell us how accessible the church really is. Like, you're completely wrong that it's not accessible. Let me show you how accessible it really is. And we went around with him and showed him how accessible it isn't. Right. Because he would say like, but these doors, blah, blah. And I would be like, okay, cool, Ella, open the door.
Right.
And she couldn't. And he would go, but it's not that heavy of a door. And I said, okay, but you're not 10 and you get to use your legs.
Right.
So, it's really not. But I think a lot of that problem is that, I mean, we have this gigantic church. There's 1,500 people, 1,000 to 1,500 people at every mass on the weekends. It's huge. And yet in 5 masses, there are 4 people in wheelchairs. So thousands and thousands of people, 4 in wheelchairs. And she is the only one that is self-propelled.
Right.
I mean, the others are either in power chairs or they have to be pushed. So really, she is the only person that this is a problem for.
I can't see that people in a power chair can open doors, though, either.
Right, but there is a way that they can come in from the back. But I got what they were saying, which is that somebody in a power chair isn't generally coming by themselves. And so, we're here, we open the doors, blah, blah, blah. But they kept saying, this is only an issue for her. And I went, but that's only because everybody else is so handicapped that they have to have caretakers.
Yeah.
So somebody, I mean, the one gentleman who's in a power chair is severely mentally handicapped. So, his mom is with him. So really, truly, when they say she's the only person this is an issue for, she is. Because everybody else is handicapped to the point that they need caretakers, or they just don't exist. I mean, the parish...
Or they're never going to come to your parish.
Well, they're not going to come, right? They're not going to come.
They won't
because the parishes around us all have a reputation when we go online to different, Dallas handicap, groups. The ones in our area all have a reputation for being inaccessible. So, there's a list of these 4 parishes in the Dallas area are accessible. And of course, none of them are near us. They're all an hour and a half away.
I hate to say it though, before I had kids in power chairs, I probably had that exact same attitude. Why do we have to make all these changes and do these things for a few people? But
right,
now I see without those minor changes, you're basically putting so much stuff completely off limit.
Right.
You can't go there at all. It's
right.
It's such a huge thing. I mean, we went somewhere and they had this beautiful playground surrounded by all this grass and a huge 5-inch curb the whole way around it.
Right.
There's absolutely no way for Fulton and Teddy to get anywhere near it. I'm like, just a small thing would have made a huge difference.
Right.
For anybody in a wheelchair,
Right. We went to the local zoo and they have this beautiful playground. Mm-hmm. And they have handicap equipment and the whole thing is filled with mulch.
Right.
Okay, great, you have stuff that she could take her wheelchair on, if only she could get to it.
But right.
Right, but it's all mulch, and so mulch, I mean, there's no traction, it just sinks.
Spin it.
Right, yeah. Right, and so she plays on it because her brothers, piggyback her. They just pick her up on their backs and take off with her. And so she goes that way. But by herself, if she were an only child and didn't have a 13-year-old and a 15-year-old brother who would carry her, or me who would carry her, she wouldn't be able to play.
Or, if she was a mother, in a wheelchair that was there with a child, she couldn't get anywhere near her child who was playing on the equipment.
Right. Exactly.
So.
Right. That's.
How does then, so you had experience homeschooling, and then you had Ella, and you had all the issues with dealing with her illness and a major medical issue come up, while you're homeschooling, and now do you have to do much modification to how you teach her since she still has upper body?
Not really. And there are a few things. I mean, when we go on field trips and stuff, I mean, I really have to figure out, we went to the Holocaust Museum here in Dallas, which is this amazing museum because we were studying World War II. And it never occurred to me to call ahead and see how handicap accessible it was because it's a museum. And all it has is this one little rickety chairlift, on up, I mean, it's this little slow, pokey chairlift that comes all the way around the side of the building. And she's like, yeah, I'm not doing that again.
Yeah.
When we left the building, she looked at me and she goes, I'm not taking that down. And I said, okay, well, what are you going to do? She's like, I can do stairs. And she popped a wheelie and she went down the stairs. And she's like, I'm not doing this, the chairlift. It's scary. And I thought, okay, so lesson learned. Um, I have to call ahead and say, how does she get in and where do we park? And,
Right. Yeah,
you
I
know, how
find
accessible are you?
yeah, field trips are huge. It's almost like yeah, it can be sometimes stressful. Like I just feel like, is it even worth me? Or like nature, like everybody's like, let's go on a nature hike or let's go pick
Right,
pumpkins in a field, and I'm just like, oh, how muddy will it be? Are the chairs gonna get
right,
stuck? How am I gonna manage this? Are we riding in a wagon out to some site because I can't get them both in a wagon?
right.
And so, do you feel like you've ever had to like miss out, like any of your other kids miss out on things because it's a completely like
Oh,
inaccessible
absolutely.
type experience? I mean,
Absolutely.
I feel like I've had to say no a lot more to different activities because it's like I can't leave them here and send
Right.
you.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I mean, there's so many things. Or we send them with friends. And so I don't get to go, you know, I remember going pumpkin picking with my older children, and my little kids all went with, you know, this wonderful, kind family in our homeschool group. And I have these great pictures of them like out with the pumpkins and doing all these things. And I'm like, okay, and I missed all of it,
Right.
you know, because she can't go. Um, so yeah, I mean, there are times when we have to miss out. But usually I don't tell the kids that they've missed out.
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
not going to tell them. You know, we just don't do those things. And I really wish that we had other families with wheelchairs, other families with physical special needs, because I know a lot of families that have autistic children or you know, kids on the spectrum
Right.
that homeschool. But physical handicap, I don't know. I mean, I know you, and you're in,
Yes.
you know, not anywhere near me. So,
Right.
you know, you can move to Texas and we could go on
I love hot
non-buddy
weather.
field trips.
I love hot weather, and I've tried to convince my husband that Texas would be a great state. I'm like, I know
Great.
people in Texas. He's like, no. He loves snow and the cold weather and seasons, and so
Yeah.
probably is not gonna happen.
Probably not. Not going to
But
happen.
as we've talked before, like I think I tried to look for special needs homeschooling groups, and I joined several online, and every single one I'd be like, okay, my sons are physically disabled. They have, you know, they don't have a lot of fine motor, gross motor skills. How do you modify your lessons when you know, your child can't do handwriting, can't do moving manipulatives? What kind of stuff do you do? And everyone's like I have no experience with that.
Right.
Focus, like, you know, maybe you should try this or maybe you should try this. I'm like, it was all people that had, you know, kids more on like this, yeah, like you said, spectrum, autism, those sorts of things, dyslexia. It was nobody with physically disabled kids. And then the few
No, they're not.
other families I found who had kids with SMA, you know, they'll pull their kids out of school either temporarily because they don't want them to get sick,
Right.
or you know, their kids are just have too many medical requirements, so they leave them at home. But these aren't people that are like really enthusiastically homeschooling. They're
Right.
doing because this is what we have
Right,
to
they're
do for
protected.
our child right now, you know. And a lot of homeschool parents, or SMA parents, you know, they really push to get their kids in school so they can have that normal school experience.
Right.
So it's been very difficult. You know, I feel like I have this group of SMA parents, but even in that, I've only found really one or two other people that are homeschooling. You know, because well, homeschooling is a good option for us. You know,
Right.
so it's so hard to find people that are homeschooling physically disabled kids that are not
Right.
also dealing with a mental impairment. Of
Right,
some sort.
exactly. And I find that the ones that are, it's not really that they're homeschooling, it's more like they're protective schooling. Like, it's not that they feel this call to educate their children at home, it's that they want to protect them, like you said, from, you know, whatever diseases are coming around. Or,
Right.
but I also find that a lot of people who have physically disabled children choose to put them in the schools because of the therapy and the benefits that they can get through the school system.
That was one thing. So we have early intervention in our state, and you age out at 3, and then the school district takes over.
Right.
And so we met with our local school district to see like what they could provide for Fulton at the time. And basically, everybody at the meeting from the elementary school, like nobody had even heard of his disease. And so I'm
Yeah.
there like describing it to them, except like the nurse. The nurse had heard of it, and I described like he needs this and this and this during the day. He needs this and this, and they're like, and even though they had no idea about his condition, they're like, oh yeah, we can totally handle that. I'm like, what are you going to do? Because he has a secondary issue with, like, bladder retention. What are you going to do if he completely, like, soaks himself? And they're like, oh, we'll call the nurse and she'll handle it. I'm like, that doesn't sound like a very good strategy to try to call in the nurse. And I'm like, and how are you going to deal with him eating and all? And I wasn't pleased. And as I met then with my social worker or my case manager with early intervention, she's like, you know, if you put him in school, he's going to get therapy that's going to help him sit in his chair for 6 hours and do school. She's like, if you keep him home and do private therapy, which we do at an outpatient, like PT, OT type place, she's like, he'll get his aqua therapy. You can get him out during the day. He can do whatever. She's like, therapy at school is going to be therapy that helps him do school.
Right. It helps him with school behaviors.
And she's like, basically, she's like, if you want to keep him home, she's like, I think you can do it. And, you know, she even encouraged me. She's like, I don't think the school's going to be able to offer you anything. No. So we've kept them out and gone private PT and OT at this point because, it just didn't seem like the school could really get it done. But we're not in the best school district either. So there might be people in other school districts that do get really good care, and that would probably be an incentive.
Well, and our school district has really good care, but because we were already homeschooling, we didn't feel like she needed the big change of going to school on top of not walking. I mean, that seems like that would be almost cruel. Okay, you can't walk, now you have to leave, you know?
Yeah, I can't handle
Get out. We don't want you anymore. Yeah.
Normal, like what our normal is like completely like scary and weird to everybody outside our family, but it's normal. Like this is completely normal.
Right.
So that's like a whole nother conversation. What people think of us and our families and their perceptions of what kind of people we must be to deal with these things.
Well, and it's funny because people think that she must be the hard kid, and I'm like, no, she's really the easy one. Like,
like you have a 13-year-old, right?
A 13-year-old, a 15-year-old, and an 18-year-old. I mean, really, can we talk about like people who are hard? And I have a 3-year-old who walks around saying to me, "I'm the boss. I'm the boss," and I'm like, no, really, you're not.
Yeah, 10-year-old in a wheelchair. We got that. That's
so
nothing.
Easy, right?
That's
right.
Nothing.
And you know, and my 3-year-old whose favorite toy is a glove that she's named High Five. I mean, really, we're just like, I don't know what to do with them. The 10-year-old in the wheelchair is the easy one.
Yeah. Yeah.
She really is.
The hardest thing about the wheelchairs is just they run into things and they hurt my toes a lot.
Yeah. Well, and I told my husband, I said, our next house, we're painting all of the walls tire mark gray.
Yeah.
Like, we can't have...
I feel like I need a texture print over everything.
Right. Texture. Like, if you know that old, gross, ugly sponge painting, like, from the early 90s?
Yes, from the 90s.
Like, if I could do that, but, like, in strokes, like, half circles, it would be perfect.
Yep. Or,
because then nobody would know.
At, like, the therapy place we go, they have all the walls, like, up to chair rail, just plastic.
Right.
All the kids that drive in and bang into stuff. I'm like, oh.
I know. And don't you get, like, so excited? You're like, oh my gosh, I would kill for this. And I think, like, a year ago, I would have been like, why are the walls plastic?
Yeah.
It's so gross. Why would you do that? And I'm like, ooh, plastic walls.
I know.
I get all excited.
Yeah, and like, we have, you know, wood floors throughout. We have no carpets anymore anywhere in the house. And, like, sometimes I think, oh, it'd be so nice to have a nice throw rug or coffee table. I was like, no, like that'd be absolutely horrible. And now when I go in people's homes, I can't help but be like, there's so much stuff to bump into. Like I get so antsy. Like if we can get the boys' chairs in, which we usually can't, but if we can, I'm just like, oh my word, there's decorative items and everything's painted white.
Yeah, well, and she doesn't realize like how hard it is on things for her to bump into them.
Yeah.
Like, she just doesn't recognize that, like, you run into things and you're nicking the walls. Yeah. She just, and it's just, like, over her head, you know, because she's 10. Yeah. So she really doesn't understand it. She doesn't get it. And so, yeah, when we get into people's houses, I'm like, okay, but can I move your coffee table? Because she can't get to the couch. Yeah. You know, can I move your chairs? Can I, and especially the people with the dumb high tables, like the bar height.
Yeah.
It's just, like, here to them.
Yes.
And, yeah.
Yeah, and people, like, some people, you know, they're like, well, can we lift the boys' chairs in to get them in the house? I'm like, no, they're like almost like 200 pounds, and it's center weight. We can't.
You okay?
Okay. Well, the thing is, they want to grab it You're like, oh, let's grab it from these wheels, and it's center weight, so you grab it from the outer wheels, and it's gonna like.
Right.
But everyone's like, oh, let's just lift it in, and we'll put it in our house, and it'll be fine. And I'm like, it's like, no, your doorways are all this wide,
Right.
and you have things
Stuff.
everywhere.
Right. Right. People try to pick her up like from the wheels, and I'm like, you're gonna spin. I mean, why are you gonna pick up the wheels that turn? Pick up the frame.
I'm like, like it doesn't matter. You come to us, or we'll put them on the sofa. It's fine.
Right.
It's not a big deal.
Or we can meet some neutral, flat territory.
I know.
Cement everywhere. Yeah.
I just say I want to move into an airport hangar. Like that.
Ooh,
that's my dream home now.
Awesome. Like that's my dream home, right? It used to be like this cool, quirky, like 1930s or 1920s craftsman, and now I'm like, yeah, can I like airport hangar? That sounds good.
I just want a big open space. Yeah. Yeah, my husband and I, we love old houses. We've lived in all these old houses. We've moved around, and so we bought this house, and like, oh, it's all this character, and
I know. Well, that was us. We had never lived in a new house, and then we moved here, and of course she wasn't in a wheelchair when we moved here, and we're like, hooray for like the big open spaces and the great rooms, which are not designed for homeschooling, let me just say, because you can't ever get away from anybody ever.
Which is why you're doing this in your bedroom right now, right?
In my bedroom, right, because I would be in the middle of the great room, which is like formal living room, formal dining room, family room, kitchen, all open to each other, and then like this big cathedral ceiling where you can like hear everything from the playroom that's upstairs. So it's huge and all open and not at all accessible. But but her chair really doesn't. I mean, it's all stairs, and it's all narrow doorways and tight turns, and
do you have a sunken living room? Like
we do not.
Okay.
Thank goodness. Yeah, no, we do not. Yeah. But no, she just, I don't know, she's figured it out. She's figured out how to make it work for now. But she keeps saying to us, like, when are we going to find a house with no stairs? Like, that's the dream. Like, we've gone from, like, cool, quirky character house to, like, all on one level. Yeah. With big, wide doorways. That's the new dream. And, a roll-in shower.
Oh, I know. Yes, we have this, we bought this house. We totally redid the bathroom and put in our one bathroom.
Oh, my gosh.
We have a half bath upstairs. So, in our main bathroom downstairs, we put in a beautiful claw tub.
Of course you did.
Antique. It's gorgeous. And of course, it's like horrible for trying to put the bath chairs in and carry the boys in. And, you don't want to be lifting this slippery kid in and out of a tub. It was cute when they were little. Now it's not so cute. It's pretty much a hazard. So yes, roll-in shower. That would be
roll-in shower. Yeah, one of her best friends has one. One of her friends from her basketball team, and every time she goes over there, she's like, "Oh my gosh, Mom, her bathroom!" And I'm like, "I know, honey."
Well, and since we have the one main bathroom, it's like the boys have like a specialized toilet chair, but we can't just. There's no room for it in the bathroom, and it doesn't fit over our special high toilet that we got and put in.
Right, of course, like the really cool one that's pretty.
Right. So we have their toilet chair in their bedroom with their wheelchairs.
Right.
And their beds and their equipment. So, yeah, it'd be nice.
It sounds like a fun bedroom.
It's an obstacle course.
It is, I'm sure. Yeah.